Hi everyone, welcome back to the Crafty Author. My name is Anissa. I am the Crafty Author, and we are going to be doing our 6th block in our block of the month. So this is for June, and we are going to be making a Jacob's ladder. This is a very fun and easy pattern to make, and so this is what it looks like when it's finished. As you know, I do a practice run before I do these. So this will be in my practice quilt. And we are going to be working with, well, I will be working with fat quarters for this. So I have my darker color and my lighter color. And so that's what I will be working with. Okay, so what you're gonna need is you're gonna need 4 5-inch squares. So I am using my fat quarters that I've been using. I'm just using different colors. And in this one, I'm going to be using this blue as my darker color and the polka dots that match it. And so I have 4 of these. So 2 of the dark and 2 of the light. So that's what I will be working with for these. So remember, you'll need a total of 4. Okay, 2 lights, 2 darks. 2 lights, 2 darks. Then you're going to need some strips. So I used 1 fat quarter of this dark and 1 fat quarter of this light in order to achieve this. And so what I'm going to do is I have these 2.5-inch strips, and I am going to sew them together. So I'm going to sew a light and a dark together, and then I'm going to sew another light and a dark together. So you will need a total of 2 lights and 2 darks. Now my strips are 2.5 inches by 15 inches long. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we're going to do to make our half square triangles first. All right, so we've done this before, but we're going to go over it again. So in order to make a half square triangle for a Jacob's ladder, you're going to take a ruler and you are going to measure from point to point diagonal here. And I like to do it on the lighter colored fabric just so I can see my line. I'm using an orange Sharpie. It doesn't matter, you're not going to see it when I go to cut it all. So there's that. Okay, and if you're worried about that, then you are more than welcome to use a pencil, or you can use chalk, you can use water soluble stuff, so, or a friction pin, whatever works for you. I'm just using a Sharpie. It's easier for you guys to see too. So now what I will do is I'll go to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch on the other side of this line, 1/4 of an inch on the other side of this line. I'm going to do that to both of these pieces. I'm also going to take one of my 2.5-inch strips of the light and of the dark. So I'm going to do this twice, okay? I'm going to put them right sides facing each other, like so. And then I am just going to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way down. All right, so I've stitched on the sides of that, so you can see there. You can see what it looks like on the opposite side too. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip these 2 apart because I chain stitched them, which just makes it go a little quicker when sewing. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut down the middle on our orange line here. I could use a rotary cutter to do this, but there's really no need to do it. Cutting it like that is going to work out just fine. And I'm just going to do that to both of them and cut right on our line. that we drew. Okay, boom. So now that part's done. All right, so next what I want to do is I want to take and I'm going to finger press to the dark side of my triangle here. This just makes it easier when pressing, and it's a little easier to do it on a harder surface. Now you do want to be careful not to stretch your fabric, because that's not good. Little starch might help with that. Helps to just press it. Okay, so we're just about done. This is the last one we're going to finger press for our half square triangles. They look fantastic. Okay, set those aside. And now I have our 2 strips. So I'm just going to snip them. And as you can see, I just sewed 1/4 inch to attach. So now I have a light and a dark. And I am going to open this up, and I'm also going to finger press this. It just makes, like I said, it makes it easier to press it out. And I feel like it really just, it just looks nice. And I'm just using my fingertip, the tip of my finger. You can use your nail, you can use whatever, but that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to press this. And okay, so I've pressed and they all look fantastic. So now what I need to do is trim these down to 4.5 inches. So I'm going to set these strips aside for right now because we want to do the trimming of these triangles first. And I'm going to use my square, and I know there's always questions about this, so I am going to use a larger square this time, which is this one that I like to use a lot. Okay, so what I do is I line up. This has a line on it. I line this on my center seam, and then I'm going to find that 4.5 inch mark here. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at this backwards. So the 4.5 inch seam is here and then here. Okay, so that's what I do. I line this up 4.5, and then I'm going to find it on the bottom here, and I'm lined up really well. So the most important part is you want to make sure that you are lined up on that center line, so that you don't lose your points. Okay, so then I'm going to turn that, and that's why a rotating mat is really good for this. And all right, I'm going to cut off any excess that needs to go. And now we have a perfect 4.5 inch square. I'm going to do that to this one as well. Just gonna line that up. Oh, now this one is kind of crooked. So this one's gonna be a little tougher for me to do. This one was really crooked, but not to fear. I'm able to fix that, and we're going to get that all squared up and cleaned up. Now that can happen because when you're sewing, it helps if you're not moving stuff all around too. I can tell you that, which I seem to be doing. When you're sewing, sometimes things can be off, especially when you're working with half square triangles, strips, and those sorts of things, okay? That's what it looks like. So if that happens to you, don't get discouraged. You can actually see right down here at the point where it's not perfect. I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. It's going to be fine, and no one is ever going to notice it. Here's another one that's wonky. So when you're dealing with something like that, you just square it up the best that you can, number one. I mean, now if it's really, really off, then you're gonna need to redo it. But if it's just a little off, I wouldn't worry too much about it, okay? So there's my 4.5. Go. So I just want to make sure that this is going to be the right size. And like I said, this one is off as well. They must have been the same two that were together, and the way I sewed it, I must have sewn a little bit crooked. It could have been in the way that I cut the fabric to begin with, could have been the reason. There's a number of reasons why fabric can be off. I could have stretched them while I ironed. Could have stretched them when I was finger pressing. So if it happens to you, just know that it happens to everyone. Okay. Oh, that did not want to come off. That little dog ear. Okay, so those are done. All right. So now what we do is we take our mess and throw it in the trash. All right, so no, what we do next is we're going to take our strips and we are going to do them opposites. Now, I want to warn you that this can also move, okay? So you want to be very careful, and you want to make sure that these are butting up. And just going to place them together. I'm going to put a little clip here just so I know that they're right, but you should be able to see this come together here. As you can see how they're nesting. Okay, so I have my seams going opposite directions. This one's going this way and this one is going this way, and you want these to be facing each other because we're going to sew them together. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to cut them into 2.5-inch strips. I know, it can be a little tricky sometimes. So you want to line up pretty straight on your mat. Okay, and I am lined up very straight over here and along this line here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count over 2.5. Actually, I'm going to trim off because I want this to be exactly at 2.5. And I'm going to count over to 2. We need 5 of these. So there's 2. There's 4. All right, so I have all 5 of these cut now, and so you should have a total of 10. So there should be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch on each side of each one. And then I'm going to press them, and then we're going to put this together. Okay, we're ready to start putting this together now. So we have our 4 half square triangles that are ready to be put in our quilt block, and also our squares that we just sewed together are 4.5 inches. These are 4 patch. I've taught you how to do a 4 patch. So if you wanted to also use just the squares, if you wanted to cut the squares out and sew them together, that would be fine. But I just want to show you when you're doing the strips why it is important to butt up those seams or nest those seams. It's because your points come out perfect. Okay, so here we go. So I use a pattern because I'm not very good at just seeing these things. So there's that. So you're going to put the lights facing up in that corner, and then we're going to have this one facing down, and then we're going to have the darks in the opposite corner. So the light goes in that corner, dark goes in the opposite corner. Then we're going to take another one of our squares and we are going to put it down, and I can already see that this square is bigger, so I'm probably going to have to do some trimming. And that can happen. It's just like I told you. So I don't know why that square is so much bigger, but it is. Put those together, and you can see the ladder starting to form. Okay. Looks like that's a good size. There's that. So you want your half square triangles going into each other like so. And then we have our lights. There's a bunch of different variations of the Jacob's ladder that you can do. So, I mean, it really depends on what you're going for. All right, so I just trimmed that little square down to 2 1/4 inches on each side. So if you need to square up a block like this, you would put your ruler, you would measure it from the seam out. So I did 2 1/4 and then trimmed off the excess. I did 2 1/4, 2 1/4, 2 1/4. And I always use my seam as my guide. That way the squares turn out even on all 4 sides. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to assemble this. So I'm going to sew all of these pieces together. So I'll flip this one over and I'll sew 1/4 inch down here. Same thing with this, 1/4 inch. I'll do the same to attach these pieces, the same to attach these pieces, and then I'm going to sew this row to the center row, and then this row also to the bottom of the center row, and then we'll have our completed block. So this goes together very quickly. As you can see, I've already done the top row. I'm just going to show you how I do the center and the bottom. So I'm going to push, the middle seams are going to go towards the center. The top and the bottom seams will go out. I'm just going to put that on there, like so. And just sew 1/4 inch. Again, I'm going to press that to the center, and then I'm just going to set this aside. All right, here's the bottom one now. So we're already doing this one, last one. Line up the sides. Now when I was talking about pressing the seams out, this is what I meant. They're going to go this way. I'm just going to finger press them that way for right now. And then I'm going to take my other piece and I'm just going to attach it to this side. And then again, it's going to go that way with the seam. And now it's done. So now what we're going to do is attach our top row to our center row. So I'm going to nest my seams so that our points will line up perfectly. I'm also going to use a little clip just to hold this while I fiddle with the fabric a little bit. Okay, and then over here, these are going to nest perfectly. Yep, they are. Okay, just wanted to double check. And then make sure that this fabric is going to stay straight, so I'm just kind of clipping as I go along. And we're going to start sewing. And I'm just using the clips to hold things together. You don't have to do it, but sometimes the fabric can move, so that's why I do that. Okay, and that part's attached, so now I'm going to finger press upwards my seam. Come on. Okay, so you can kind of see how it's starting to take its formation there. All right, so now I'm going to put the bottom on, and then our block is going to be done. Okay, it's the moment of truth, covered in fuzz. Anyway, so this is what it looks like finished. Beautiful and easy to do. You can see the pattern going through with the white. You can see the pattern going through with the blue. It's a beautiful pattern. I love this pattern, actually. Now I want to make a whole quilt out of this. This is the red and white one. I actually like this one the best, I think. It's so pretty. I used Christmas fabric on this one. Isn't that cool? It's got sparkles in it. So, and then just some scrap white fabric that I had. So this is actually a really great scrap buster too, if you wanted, you know, to make one. I could just see all the different variations of colors, which would be amazeballs. And I have this Tula Pink fabric that I ordered, the monkey wrench, and I'm thinking that that might make a really cool Jacob's Ladder quilt. We'll see. We'll see. I need to do something with it, and so I definitely am leaning towards that. I also saw another one that had it was like 3-dimensional. It was so cool. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that is it for this block of the month. So this is June, and June is Jacob's Ladder. And if you've missed any of the other block of the months, you can find them on my website. It's craftyauthor.com. And I have a little tab up the top that says block of the month, and if you click on that, it will show you all of the block of the months, so you can get caught up. You can catch all the video tutorials, the written instructions for the measurements and whatnot. Okay, this one will also be on there, and if you'd like to follow me on social media, the links are down below in the description box. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you love this video, then feel free to share it, because sharing is caring. I have a merchandise store down below if you'd like to check out merchandise. I have Quilting is My Superpower and all kinds of neat stuff in there. I also offer memberships now through my YouTube channel, so you get extra perks if you join. And if you subscribe and support the channel, then I am always appreciative of that. All of my affiliate links are also down below in the description box. Again, really grateful when you use those and make purchases through them, because it helps me to continue to bring you guys great content on this channel. And without your support, I would not be able to do it. We did hit 15,000 subscribers. I will be putting up a giveaway soon. I promise. I'm working on it. And keep on crafting. And until next time, you guys, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.